This week on Hermitcraft.
Could we maybe like leech or suck?
Good. Yeah.
The beat-ups suck segment.
I like it.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is Pixelriffs, our writer is LoyXP. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. And being an unofficial recap, we don't have a permit for this, but when we went looking for the permit office, we got lost in the woods, and when we tried to mail in the application, it literally went through hell. So let's just hope nobody official comes knocking and asks for 50% of my microphone.
Anyways, what?
On the Hermitcraft server, shops are being shipped, farms are being firmed, deals are being done and undone. So without further ado, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with Etho, whose permits most folks worked out by process of elimination last week, but that process didn't take into account him eliminating the coloured glass trades from a bunch of other people's to-do lists. Starting with Magenta Glass, he scores permits from Doc, Corrales, Wells Knight and Gemini Tay to produce 5 more colours, the better to bulk craft a reliable supply and split the profits later.
I'm not really a wandering trader. Falls, build me a shop, please.
This is nice, though. I like it. I like the take.
He's also responsible for frog lights, or to put it another way, he's the only one with Permit the Frog.
Where am I?
The Gulag.
Here at Muppet Lamps, he establishes a basalt delta farm on the nether roof, once he's found a spot that frogs can be warped in from their appropriate biomes. He even manages to squeeze a storage room into the cellar of his house, which now connects to Gemini Tay's cove via a tunnel, as long as you don't mind weaving your way through a Guardian-based squid farm. So it's eldritch creatures from the deep on both ends, really.
We still want to decorate this, but that's probably it's a low priority thing, right? But it'll hopefully happen eventually.
Another small mystery until recently has been iJevin's permit list, and now that his video with the event is out, we can decidedly say he got one powerful pull. With a lucky draw, Jevin not only gets a diamond paper letting him sell any heads he can, but also one of his gold permits is none other than Elytra. And sure, braving the outer reaches of the end dimension is a dangerous task for the guy getting his netherite by home decorating. But look at it this way, he is getting that netherite now that Hypno has paid for the blossom sapling themed interiors. It's not quite the Barbie dream house, but perhaps it's a Marie Kondo.
But it's pink!
Awesome. If you need any more of my design services, just holler.
I will, yeah. I'm going to be enjoying the house for quite some time, though, I'm sure.
Called in for a second opinion, Wells Knight pops out of the tunnel connecting their bases and gives Hypnotized a few tips on maybe stirring this more towards a dark oak theme, but by sapling logic, that would need a house 4 times as big. Quite fitting, Wells Knight barely bats an eye about building himself an enormous castle within the fortress walls from last week. The structure grows so big, in fact, that Wells hires out Grian to help with the Grand Hall and False Symmetry to rebuild the coastline, now that the defences have all but swallowed the island's original shape. It is somewhat cathartic to see him speedrun his own Season 5 of Hermitcraft like that.
Honestly, I was only planning to plan the castle today, and then I just kind of accidentally built the whole thing.
Now, while Grian gets a kelp permit for his services, False is actually in it for her new door-to-door service. With her briefcase and her hat and all the roads she hasn't finished for the neighbourhood, False is out to deliver the masses the finest in rivers and island terraforming. Also, her actual shop's made no money so far, so she has to earn her bread somehow. It is funny too that the one person who commissions her help is the one who very clearly already has an island, but she's quick to get him a beach transplant for the rapidly receding shoreline.
This may be not what he wanted exactly, but you know what? This is a good starting point, right? The land's all there, and if he ever wants any more, he can just be like, False, hey!
XB Crafted takes to the skies with Corrales as the pair of them go end raiding, but has much more down-to-earth activities waiting for him back home. Right after he zombifies and cures his villagers for better golden carrot prices, along comes a farmer he can't zombify.
Hello?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Vintage Beef swings by and offers to help out with food production. The two of them go into a 50-50 partnership, which leads to XB establishing the aptly named Half Foods, which seems to be business in the front, Nintendo in the back.
Only see the top 3 blocks of your build. What does it remind you of? A Nintendo.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh my god, yes.
Golden carrots are sure to be the best seller, but XB sets up enough shelves for every other foodstuff in the game, and before long Beef has provided a much needed pop of colour both inside and out.
Check it out. We've got stuff inside the shopping cart. Oh, goodness. Look at that. Look at all these purchases that are being made.
Beef can now provide his namesake foodstuff thanks to a new cow pen on his farmland, and he's got a chicken coop out back with a slightly more industrial farm underneath it. We're certain there are plenty of people who could help stock the fish counter. After all, Big Salmon has been pretty generous in donating fresh fish to a few folks on the server, but it won't be time to talk about that until we reach Doc M. In the meantime, we'd better have a debate over whether coffee, tea, and hot chocolate count as food or potions, so that we know which permit holder should be getting mad at Zombie Cleo.
Oh, I've also got this one, which is my personal cup of tea. But thank you, Pushed, who is my friend who made them, and they're great.
Because not willing to pay Doc M his cut of mending book sales, Cleo is now giving them away for free with every purchase of a beverage in their kitty cafe. Gonna say it right here, you do not have to be a kitty to attend. The cups are all custom models applied to carved pumpkins, and there's one of every kind of cat waiting inside except for the 3 they commissioned Scar by mail, but he's a little stuck with the permit for those himself. More on that later.
And I am gonna sell them so hard, and Doc's gonna be mad, but, you know, what else is new?
Doc M is indeed gonna be mad, in several senses of the word. While his business skills currently consist of telling people he has permits and then telling them about the dog shows he's been watching on his second screen, he manages to construct an enormous hourglass on what will eventually be the site of the log shop, planning to fill it with his share of the sand people will pay for logs with. And considering it took over 12,000 glass to build, we have now reached the second definition of the word mad.
For the greater good of the server. You two are just lucky that this server is PG. All right? That's all I'm saying.
He's surprisingly chill about the fact that shortly after the hourglass is constructed, Big Salmon conspires to fill the top bulb with fish. But he sees it as them taking ownership of the wood stores that they plan to build below.
The things I have to endure just to make good business with sand.
We'll concede that he might be a little miffed that Cleo has scooped all the villagers he left unattended at spawn, but Doc is giving as good as he gets, even managing to temporarily out-Iskal when he requests some oak logs.
As you know, Schalke boxes, we are allowed to use Schalke boxes to sell our goods. So, but nobody said how much, log has to be in a Schalke box, for example, right? I mean,
I'm picking up what you're putting down and I'm liking it.
What?
I'm liking
What do you mean? I'm just selling you a simple stack of oak logs.
Yeah.
Those oak logs Doc is now farming in bulk, thanks to a moss farm generating infinite bone meal above an azalea farm that churns logs into a TNT duping pit. Technically, half the sand those oaks will generate belongs to Joe Hills, who points out that each of the wood types will probably need to be sold separately, both to clarify where you buy them, put some of the product on display, and make it easier for the permit holders to collect their profits.
Hey Skiz, do you need help moving your entire mangrove thing underneath the hourglass?
Oh yeah, that would be hilarious.
That'd be real cute. Yeah, I'll see if he wants help with that.
He's also the ideal person to help Doc scout for an area for the inevitable perimeter project, since Joe now has experience finding large areas of the server nobody is using yet. He's been flattening lots of terrain for the Holmdale project, and even offloading some of the materials to Hypno once the mountain of stone is reduced to a hillock of double chests.
Alright, well I'm gonna rummage through your chests here and snag all that cobblestone then.
Sounds great. I gotta go get my tools fixed because it's been a lot of digging.
He doesn't have the luxury of doing what Iskal 85 is doing, which by his own admission is mostly procrastinating. But as he's building bits of factory, Iskal randomly chooses a chest to provide a block pallet for his temporary storage build, which ends up as something between an industrial shipping container and a tin of sardines.
By the way, quite a few people said was absolutely horrendously looking. I think it looks great. I think it's amazing. I like this.
At least now it looks like less of a yard sale than Etho's pop-up glass shop.
So if you have 51% and I have the permit, who actually owns the permit at that point?
You own the
permit. Who's the number one?
You own so we own 50. You own 100% of the permit. With the
Stress Monster is there to argue the case for Magenta Glass because she's using it to add some Season 8 flair to her greatest hits base. The Deep Slate Tower is crowned by a glassy pinkish purple fire, presumably so she can throw people into it when they pay for her shop stock with fake diamonds.
Someone paid with like a fake, oh wow, a fake diamond. Ah, naughty. What is that? That's not real diamonds. What's going on?
Even after it's adorned with a terraformed mound in front though, she's still not sure if it's right for storage purposes, so that'll have to wait until the business in the back concludes. Azumavoid's own solution to his storage trouble is once again a server-wide mod that allows him to label his shulker boxes more clearly with items and textures on the lids and when they're chilling in a chest as an item. Needless to say, this is completely optional for everyone else, and all they need to do to opt out is not run around their own storage room with a label maker. Admittedly, it gives Azuma the unfair advantage of knowing where any of his stuff is. The one step too far here is when X applies a diamond texture to some sticks and sticks them into a few shopping chests as legitimate payment just to see where they'd end up or if anyone would actually notice. On the upside, this gives people an opportunity to literally burn some money.
not about money. It's about sending a message.
It is about sending a message, which is why the server has a post office after all. And why should the post office be limited by one form of transport? Pearlescent Moon adds a boat dock to the mail HQ and gets the approval of local fisherperson Gemini Tay to confirm that, yep, it is in fact seaworthy.
Is it electric? Is it...
Good question. That's a lot of logic I didn't actually expect to think about. I would say it's probably got a little toot-toot engine and it runs on water flow.
Claiming not to be a vehicle builder, Pearl goes on to add a van to the Postal Service fleet, although the mule will have no truck with it. Pearl herself should not be limited by one form of transport either, and she visits the Outer End with Good Times with Scar to get hold of some wings, proving along the way why it's a good idea to have them.
Oh, you're up here. I was looking at the void, I'm like...
I'm totally gone. I'm totally gone.
No.
Goodbye, Scar.
But if you feel like music transports you to another place, clearly you haven't heard the music Pearl is capable of making with enough mob heads and note blocks. Singing in the round is difficult for wardens, especially when this game is mostly squares.
That sounds like an airplane.
Pretty cool, right? Okay, and then this one.
Sounds like the propeller.
Yeah.
Music, right?
Not nearly as bad as I thought it would be.
Smallish Beans and gang in the meantime discover that multiple people can play an instrument if they toss it like a hot potato, and make the lowest budget orchestra by passing around the Impulse screaming "Oh my god" horn.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Now wait a minute. When does Impulse come on?
Oh my god.
When is he?
Oh my god.
The band practice does not distract Joel from filling in more of his Asian-inspired city, especially since the Glowberry farm from last week really needed an outer shell to prevent the frequent passerby from falling in. Actually, a farm of his vacates the inhabitants now that a design with no axolotls came up. The cute murder lizards remain useful, while Joel tries to start breeding them in the hopes to get the rare light blue one. He even keeps the intermediate rejects, if only to easily count how many tries this is going to take him.
And you know what? This is a pretty good death. All we have to do now is actually sell some glowberries.
Gemini takes a much more hands-on approach to marine research and actually goes out to where an ocean is to build her coral laboratory. So far his studies concluded that coral does indeed die if you kill it, and that the dead one goes rather well with cobblestone. It's okay, she's got a permit. And she also has one for tridents, thanks to Etho, who came for the yellow glass one. While her industry grows, so does the presence of Gem's personal snail. Somehow her pink and Grian's teal snail friends found their way to Good Times with Scar's train, where they've been swiftly apprehended for not having their tickets. But while Scar is busy adding a mail car to his locomotive, the snails commit a daring escape and return with their own wagon, as well as a giant snail sitting on top of it.
What have you hooligans been up to?
Those are some talented snails, huh, Scar?
Look at them. Aren't you proud of them?
Oh,
Quite the builders.
What do
I don't know. Ask them, Scar. We didn't do it.
Fine. Hello, little...
Not having a permit to sell mobs, Scar is unable to get rid of it, but luckily by this time Grian has already installed the Department of Hermit Permits somewhere deep in the woods behind the shopping district where no one can bother it. True to form, the bureaucratic institution functions much nicer as a horse parking than it does at whatever it's actually supposed to do. When Scar finally arrives for his request, he spends most of his time on hold, and the rest of it pondering a confusing multi-page form. Grian even got custom elevator music for this.
Well, basically, it's now up to you to fill this out.
I am dyslexic, so apologize. Blue bin test. Can I ask what that is?
I'm gonna have to put you on hold.
No, not the music!
This is no way to treat a man knighted by Skizzleman who braved the no Elytra Nether with 64 diamonds in hand. And obviously he shouldn't have to, since mob delivery is a service, and also animals are not items, axolotls notwithstanding. We sure get a confirmation that statues of Grian fishing out a mending book aren't subject to the law. Cleo makes one for Grian's secret tunnel, and neither of them has a permit for any of this. Nor did they check for the gas line, come to think of it. Grian will have lots more fishing to commemorate now he holds the Prismarine permit, which we see happen from Mumbo's perspective this week. On reflection, he should have known when the offer was too good to pass up, but this is the same Mumbo who's excited about selling item frames, then discovers he has to craft them.
And to top it all off, I've just come to terms with how many sticks I actually need.
At least he gets the pleasure of being shop neighbours with Skizzleman as he assembles the storefront for these item frames, a giant item frame with a house in it, mounted on the front of a grassy stone block.
Nice, okay, yeah. Oh, wow, I'm chuffed with that. That is great.
Skizz, for his part, has made good profits from mangrove sales. If only he could say the same for Cherry. Still, he also gets the dubious honour of making signage for the permit office, and if that wasn't cathartic enough, he can get in some primal scream therapy as they visit some piglin bastions.
Oh, stupid piggy! Uh-oh.
Oh my god.
It gives him just the right perspective to begin the second tier of his hierarchy of needs pyramid, which is really about safety and personal security, which you'd think he might have difficulty guaranteeing after he helps fill Doc M's hourglass with fish.
One of the greatest pranks ever, okay? Ever.
Impulse SV helps secure his future in business by setting up a gold farm on the nether roof. But if you'll remember, gold itself isn't the product here, it's what the gold can buy him from the piglin population, which is renewable nether quartz, along with a ton of other resources he's looking to build with in the cyberpunk city build.
But we've got this underway, and they seem to keep up.
The piglins get their revenge for being trapped in a 1x1 box when he joins Skiz and Tango for their Bastion raiding session, although it does eventually afford him the chance to upgrade his armor to netherite, which better suits his cyberpunk aesthetic. The techno future will be much easier to achieve once Tango Tech opens his all redstone emporium, but to get there, first he has to brave the wire spaghetti that is crafting it. Tango's play is of course to auto-craft everything at his base factory. The idea is to also make the system self-governing, so it decides what to craft and what to replenish first out of the pool of material. The idea is also to make it aesthetically on the same level as the decked out dungeon, judging by the custom modelled conveyor belts he uses to mask the underlying water streams. Yes, we too missed that short-lived Create series.
Put in some sound effects, put in some extra flair, some extra visuals. It's gonna be amazing.
What artificial intelligence can't bring, Tango takes from the very regular intelligence of B00 in an unfortunately named segment, B-Dub's Suckfest, that we did not name, if you could believe it.
Going out on a high note.
Okay, I love it. B-Dubs, I appreciate the first installment of, what do we call it? B-Dubs.
B-Dubs Suck Job.
We're probably not want to call it that, no.
No, B-Dubs Suckfest.
There we go.
Cubfan135 brings a similar approach to his permit promises and assembles an automated factory for those explosive fireworks he'll be selling. At first, the redstone monster is only capable of randomized rockets, but soon enough it expands the repertoire to mass crafting on-demand colourful explosions a double chest at a time. Even the dyes are provided from mostly on-site flower farms, as long as the moss farm can churn out the bone meal faster than it eats it. There is a feather farm for burst firework stars. All of this just so him and Corrales can relax in the backyard of his villa and watch the night sky as it shatters with explosions much more sustainable than XP Crafted being blown up.
Oh! Here it goes!
Little does Cub know, Corrales actually has an even more robust palette. No joke, his own dye farming network is even bigger than Cubfan's, with a wither cage to farm up roses for ink, or the double tall flowers for most dyes, sea pickle farm, and an extended horse warranty.
Ha! Look at this. Only if XB would have bought the extended horse warranty, because now his horse in the nether. I'm not even gonna help. If he loses it, he loses it.
It might seem like a significant overkill to supply a single candle shop, but between the videos, Corrales already has made a slime farm and a creeper farm somewhere beneath his starter yacht, which is mighty impressive, even assuming he got his kids to dig some of it again. And finally there's Perry the Platypus? Perry has appeared outside of Rendog's base, and Ren freely admits he blends well with the Gigacorp aesthetic, but he is spoiling the view somewhat, and Ren wishes he could unsee some of the shading.
Definitely spotted something at the bottom of this thing that is disturbing me, though. I think there needs to be a redesign.
It's much easier to unsee Ren himself this week as he chugs an invisibility potion to work on a wither skeleton farm. Perched precariously in a soul sand valley, the farm just needs a few thousand buttons to work well and a few thousand more to work better, but it's still churning out other Nether Fortress mobs until Ren hatches a ton of chickens under the end portal and blasts them with the wither, the better to create some wither roses. And who knew the farm would be much more productive if you could just offer it a bunch of flowers.
And all we need to do now is get the final buttons placed. I mean, it took me about 3 hours to place those last 1,000 buttons. This is going to turn into an Enderman farm of wither skeletons.
And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP and my name is Pixel Riffs. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.